Thinking about launching a podcast but overwhelmed by all the moving parts? At Turnkey Podcast Productions, we take the hassle out of podcasting so you can focus on the talk, not the tech. From concept to launch, guest booking to post-production, we handle everything. Need a strategy to grow your show and turn guests into clients? Yep, we do that too. DIY or done for you, we've got the solution that fits. Whether you're just getting started or ready to scale, Turnkey is your behind-the-scenes podcast team. Turnkey Podcast Productions. Your voice, your message, fully produced. Learn more at turnkeypodcast.com/contact. That's turnkeypodcast.com/contact.
Here's what you can look forward to on this episode of The Nice Guys on Business.
I see it as this podcast finally gave me an international stage to sort of talk about the things that I like to talk about things that I talk to my families, friends, and clients and business partners. These things that I talk to them about every day, now I can project to a wider net where people can benefit, hopefully benefit from what our guests are saying on the podcast. And then it'll allow for potential opportunities to meet them and get into different business ventures, and all our business partnerships, they're all jumping on to promote their stuff. So it's kind of fun.
In a court ruling U.S. versus Fishbein, a man subjected to potential incineration while wearing another man's suit is entitled to $10,000 worth of airline tickets. It's an obscure ruling, but a very important one to the nice guys on business. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, nice guy community. Being true to his North Star, Phil Fornaro is the lightning bolt of energy in the podcasting world. He's a top 10% globally ranked host of Lightbulb Moments and the guy who's interviewed more inspiring guests than I can count, including recent guest John Lee Dumas, JLD. Phil is all about the energy, clarity, and those breakthrough moments that change everything. Now, when we first brainstormed his show together, today we're going to catch up on how it's actually evolved and what he's learned along the way. Get ready for some serious light bulb moments yourself, nice guy community. Phil, welcome back to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Doug, thank you so much. I was so looking forward to this one. It's been what a process, and you're always with me, man. I love it.
Well, I love being the witness to this process because, as many times as we've brought on clients, and I love all of our clients, no matter where they are, you got to love people where they're at. You took the advice that I gave right out of the gate and you started to run with it. And then you created your own serious amount of momentum and built this amazing juggernaut of downloads, of community, of connections. And I've watched it evolve. I think as of the recording of this, you're just about a year into your podcast, 100 plus episodes. It's got to feel really good to be where you are. I mean, I know you still feel like, I'm like still an infant in this business, but don't you feel good about what the evolution of this podcast has been all about?
I mean, I can't. I actually just learned from one of the books that there's a difference between joy and happiness, and I definitely have achieved joy, as I've gone through this process. I mean, I look forward to each and every episode, and it's evolved based on the fact that I've got so many cool people that I know, and now I'm meeting other people that I don't know, and that connection, reconnection, growth is just inspirational for me.
No, I know as of the day that we're recording this, you were kind of a little harried entering the podcast booth, let's call it, because you're doing some additional law work at your practice. And I know for the last year since you've been doing this podcast, you've also put in a ton of energy and effort, momentum into the podcast itself. How do you find the balance? And I don't mean to talk to you just about podcasting, because I know you do a whole bunch of things in your world and investment opportunities and things like that. But this is the one that I'm a part of because I've watched you, grow in this. How do you create that balance between not overdoing everything? Because you're probably like me. You want to get your hands in everything and overdo everything to a good degree. So how do you stop from doing that? How do you catch yourself?
Well, first and foremost, we could talk about the podcast the whole time if you like it.
I'm good with that too.
Talk about anything else, but whatever comes up, we'll talk about. So it's an interesting thing, and I've actually had therapy on a couple of my episodes because we've been bringing in some people on mental health and how to balance your time and absorb the pain and the burnout and all the other stuff. And so I use it to my advantage. It bounce my problems off. But what I've learned basically is that I can absorb a lot, and the podcast is actually the anti-problem for me. So there's two reasons. One's our phenomenal team, being, you guys at Turnkey as like the main point, and Valerie and Sumitra and Aaron and Michaela now. We've grown a team that supports me to such an extent that I can just stop whatever bad things happening during my day and just talk to people like this. It's unbelievable. But it's also now when I'm working more, it's the balance of it is that everything our clients need service, our businesses need help growing, and this podcast has to grow too, because it's important to, I think, people besides just me.
One of the things I remember early on in the process, and you said you have no expectations going into this. You kind of were like a blank slate, and we love that. Not because this gives us a while to have a client without him thinking. That's not the process. It was more like when we went into it, I went into it for the purpose, and this is going back 10 years, 1,600 plus episodes ago. I went into it sheerly for the purpose of, I got to move some books because I just wrote a book and I want to sell those, and I want to sell some consulting services. And I felt so much pressure and I put so much pressure on myself that nothing resulted. I fast forward 2 years into the process, and once I started to relax a little bit, then I started to get business from it. It wasn't because I was working hard or harder at getting business. It was more like I was just having great conversations with great people, getting free coaching, like you said, building these master connections that I had. And you went into it with the same attitude of what it took me 2 years to get to. How were you able to relax enough? Because you're an intense guy. I mean, not bad intense, good intense. How did you relax enough to just let it evolve, do on its own though?
So, it's debatable, whether I control it or not, my intensity. Depends on who you talk to. It depends on the day. So, because like you said, I had no expectation. I knew I wanted to do it. Like I talked to you about it, learned some of the things you told me about it. And then I just started talking to other people that podcast, and they were so stressed out about generating revenue, and driving views and all that other stuff. We talked about it, and it was in my head is that this doesn't matter yet. I mean, it's not going to, whether I have my next lunch or dinner or tequila, it's nothing to do with that. It's something to do with, I wanted to try to figure out if this is for me. And, after that 21st episode, when Jack, you and I were on it, it sort of like goes, yeah, this is kind of cool. I don't need anything else. I'm getting what I need from it already. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So how has the podcast, Lightbulb Moments, how has the podcast kind of supported your connections habit or all of the other things in your world?
I love that. I gotta do a short LBM moment on that one. Yeah. So I feel like I can get and reconnect with people. Like, talking to Peter Troost again after all these years. He's like, dear friend of mine for all this time, and then I don't talk to him for a decade, maybe. Right. And I couldn't believe it. But then I purposely, it was funny. I said, I'm not going to talk to you before the podcast because I want to reveal this, interaction to our public. But that, and along with talking to other people, I never thought I would talk. You talked about JLD, and then the Lovesac founder,
Sean Nelson. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was funny. You go through these processes, and it's like, originally I'm going, I'm not going to have anybody like this that has this growth pattern, and is interviewing Mark Cuban and all the other stuff.
Right.
And it didn't matter because we're having a conversation like I did with anybody else. And it it really has inspired me. It is feeding my bad habit of wanting to talk to people. You're right.
So when you first get into podcasting, one as a podcaster, not you as Phil Fornaro, but as someone gets into podcasting, they really approach it from one of three categories. You know, they're either looking to make money, they're looking to build a community, maybe looking to grow influence. One of those three is generally like the top priority. But then there are all these hidden gifts. You know, I reconnected with a friend of my dad's. His name was Jeffrey Gitomer. He's a famous sales guy that wrote a bunch of books, Little Red Book of Sales and others. And then you start meeting people like Ariana Huffington and Gary Vaynerchuk and these folks that have been on my show. It's like no freaking way would they have ever, if I picked up the phone and tried to call, I wouldn't have even gotten past the gatekeeper. Do you find that your podcast is opening doors for you? Are you using it as as not a lever, but as a reconnection? It sounds like that buddy of yours you haven't talked to in 10 years. That was a really good connection. Are you using it to open other doors for yourself, for your business, for any other opportunities that you find?
Absolutely. And it's not like this like, oh, I got this ulterior motive.
Right.
It's I can use this. And it's funny is I used to, immediately talk about business or other things related to my life, but it's almost hard for me not to talk about my podcast, right away. And people are intrigued by the concept because that's not the normal introduction into a conversation. I don't think is, hey,
Right. Let's talk about my podcast.
yes, but it's not even, hey, I want to talk about my podcast, because what happens is they'll say something and I'll go, oh yeah, that was like episode, 35.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
yeah, wait, you should listen. Cause I use it people other day. So Daniel Drapkin, she is from Pear Chef. She's this company that, I invested in. It's a kiosk company. They take the kiosks and put them in hospitals and apartment buildings, et cetera. And people, what I found out about that is people like to eat cookies, after 10 p.m. So
I understand.
But she got inspired by, she goes, because I was trying to explain something to her, as a, older guy, trying to explain something to a young founder. I said, well, yeah, we've had a couple podcasts. She goes, oh, send me your favorite podcast that would help me. So now I'm going to put that together. It just happened yesterday. So I'm going to put that together and tender it to her. And it just opens up all these new discussions and it's like a different dynamic even before we get into, business or life or whatever else.
Had you gotten into podcasting for one of those three reasons before, community, influence, or money? And again, I don't think that there is definitely a North Star for any of those. Which one did you get into the business, into the podcast for? But I find that most people discover like all of these hidden gifts that podcasting can provide. This, you mentioned it earlier, the free coaching, and I always joke around. Hey, look, I've gotten some $100,000 a week coaches in my on my show for free, and I've had a great conversation. They've solved a lot of problems that I've had. Is there a hidden gift that you have gotten from this show that you could kind of put your finger on and say, had it not been for my show, this would not have happened in my life? And you don't have to name a specific thing, but I just mean overall the hidden gifts that you've gotten for podcasting.
Yeah, I guess I got to look at it in terms of the hidden gift of finding my fulfillment, and it never was in my cards because I've been looking for it for a long time. And, we talked about it, I think, when we did it in episode 21, and then the initial episode is where we're going with this thing. But it was sort of just talk back then, that this was going to be that. And as I went through it, it got better and better. So the gift kept on giving, so to speak. And I think that's the main thing is that I thought I was forever not going to achieve fulfillment.
So I rarely have a chance to meet any of our clients face to face. I do a lot of these Zoom meetings, and we have next month we have a meeting scheduled on the books. I'm flying to San Francisco. You're going for a bar mitzvah in the city with your family, and then I guess you're shooing everybody off for a couple of hours so you can meet with me. How important are the face to face? Because I know you do most of your business is probably done face to face in your law practice, isn't it?
Yeah, for the most part, now, but that's another thing. Now it's starting to grow. And we were fortunate to get involved with Zoom, like even before COVID. So that is a necessary evil. But when you get that full reconnection or connection with the person, it's definitely in person. I was actually during this period of time, I was getting sick of Zoom a little bit because it was just high intensity, complex situations we're trying to solve at Fornaro Law for our clients and trying to help them grow. And these aren't small things anymore. They're big clients that are needing big assistance. And it's a complexity that is hard to discuss. And for the most part, probably about 70% of my client is Eastern European. And there's language barriers, which are not tough on me, I think, because I lived with broken English my whole life, with my family. I never have to worry about it. I understand everything what everyone's saying. But when I bring the people in, no matter where they are, if they come in, let's say they're from Florida, they're from Serbia, or wherever they're from, and they come in, we always say, hey, let's go sit down, have a meal, and really connect that way. And that's when the relationships spike, even more than before.
What was one of your bigger hurdles that you had to overcome as it relates to getting a podcast started? Many people are like, hey, I don't know where I'm going to find the time. Some people are really adverse to technology. Some people are, I don't have a big personality, so I don't know how. Where were you in that whole game? What did you feel like would be your hurdle to get over?
So the hurdle is that which is apparently wasn't an issue, but I thought I was going to run out of people to talk to.
Always, yeah.
And I go, holy cow! I go, what? I know a lot of people, but A, are people going to want to be on the podcast? B, they may hear it and say, well, no, we're busy that day,
right?
And then C, when I do run out of those people, what do I do next? And what I've noticed, so that's the answer to your question, I think.
Right. That was the hurdle. That was the hurdle.
That was the hurdle.
Now, how did you over? I mean, I don't know why, but I've never had the fear of running out of guests. And we're 10 years later, and literally over 1,000 guests, and I feel like I'll never run out of people. All I have to do is walk into an airport and look at the bookshelf there, and just start calling all of those those authors. And I did that for a period of time in the way beginning, and now it's. We get 50 to 75 applications every week to be on the show for one spot. Wow. So it's like, it's no problem at all getting guests anymore.
Holy crap. I don't even know how I made it this time, because I was just on with you recently. That's good.
No, I reached out to you. I said to you, I want you on the show. It's when you start to understand the value that your guest seat has, and maybe this is a good topic to talk about for a second. In the very beginning, you feel like people are doing you a favor by being on your show, because it's like, well, I don't have any listeners, and why would they want to be on my podcast? And then you get into that space of, I've been doing this for a year or 2 years or 5 years, and you think, I own a freaking media company. I'm the one that's doing them a favor. And I am allowed to ask them and throw some hurdles in their way, like, hey, you need to make sure that you're making our team aware of how you're going to promote this thing on social media. And I think that that's really like the evolution of where your show is going, is that I know you have the confidence because you've got the episodes behind you to give you the confidence, but it's now, let's put some of those plans in place so that you're getting a review from every single guest and then some. You're getting a social media promo and all of that. All of those things, when you start to understand you own a media company, it kind of changes your whole perspective on your podcast. Do you think that is true?
Well, there you go. You gave us a light bulb moment.
You own a media company? That's the light bulb moment?
I never thought about that. Who am I? But yeah, that's true. We're producing content on media, on social media. So that's pretty interesting. Yeah, I always think of media, like the old days, 2579, 32.
Oh yeah, but that's so old school now. I mean, the influencers today are social media. The influencers that are on TV of yesteryear, the Peter Jennings and Walter Cronkites, while they were important figures in the news world, journalism has evolved exponentially. And, you have, I don't want to mention the Kardashians in the same breath I'm mentioning, Peter Jennings, but you have influence with people. Do you feel like there is some level of responsibility that you have to bring valuable content week in and week out when you realize that you own a media company?
There you go. Another LBM. Apparently, yes. I mean, as I started thinking of your process. Yeah. I mean, this is the Cronkites, those are the people that we sort of relied on to get the information we needed in the world. We didn't have, technology didn't exist to the extent that we could get that information at a moment's notice. So yes, as I found out during this podcast is that not having listened to a podcast really before years, when I first listened to that Friday episode,
sorry. Sorry, very sorry.
Fantastic. I got to listen to that one again. That was awesome.
So, go ahead.
We'll tell that story. Well, I might as well tell. I told it on Fretzin. So Steve Fretz in a podcast. He actually just put me in his book. Did you see that?
Mm-mm.
So Fretzin, he's my business coach and the one that directed me and steered me towards Doug Sandler and said, no, you got to go with this guy. He's the best. I said, all right, well, let's talk to him. So I talked to him, got a very good opinion of him. And then I'll tell you about the book. This is a better story. Yeah. So I go, oh, this is a great guy. I'm really looking forward to it. Valerie says, I've never, because I go, I'm in. And Valerie goes, you never go in this quickly on anything. What is wrong with you? Like, I really like this guy. He's gonna help me. She goes, well, at least you should listen to one of his podcasts.
And you listen to a Friday episode first, right? You didn't listen to the interview episode. It's like, oh
no,
I'm in trouble.
Of course not. If I were to listen to that, that would have been complete. But then it would have been as funny of a story,
right?
So I listened to this episode and I'm going, there's F-bombs, I think, someone was in love with somebody,
I'm sure happens all the time.
and they were stalking, she was stalking him and all the other stuff. So I said, I go, holy crap. So I call Fretzin. I go, Fretzin, what the hell are you doing to me? He goes, what are you talking about? I go, listen to this episode. He goes, what? He goes, listen to it. So he listens to part of it, calls me back. He goes, don't worry about it. He's a great producer.
Right. Don't let his practice of podcasting get in the way of you being produced by his team. Yeah, it is. I have had that experience before. And in the beginning, I was very worried about turning people off that were potentially going to just like you did. Somebody would turn the other way. Why would I have a podcast that would potentially turn people off and still expect the business or want to drive the business? And I just said, you know what? I'm going to be me. And I've been me my entire career for 37 years of doing my own self-employed businesses. I've done my own thing. The people that don't want to be with me because they heard me drop an F-bomb or they heard me offer maybe a political view that wasn't aligned with theirs. Okay, well, I guess those people aren't in my, I don't need somebody to be politically aligned with me in order for me to be their client. And I don't have to feel like I'm being, secretive or anything else. So I just get to be myself. And I think that is exactly, I love warts and all. You bring all of that to your podcast too. And I love that about what you do.
Yeah. And for Doug's community, don't worry. I listened to the other episodes.
Well, they
were absolutely fabulous. His guests and the way he interviews them. Absolutely.
He's been with us. Phil's been with us a year now. He knows enough to not listen to me.
No, untrue. So I wanted to go back just for a second, if you don't mind, about the other hurdle. So if that's okay, I don't want to take your interview.
No, man, you're in charge. Go. I'm just the guy that's asking the questions, teeing them up.
Yeah, I've switched it. So the other hurdle that I thought of related, and then I'll get back to Fretzin. But the other hurdle that I came up with in my head just now was I didn't know who was going to be listening or who the target was. And right. Everybody kept on telling me the same thing is that, oh, well, you got to pick a lane. This is your, the people that are going to be listening to you. So I thought it was entrepreneurs. I thought it was business owners. And what I found, it really is such an eclectic group that listens to the podcast from all over the place. And it's kind of like, it hits people for different reasons. I'm sure people listen for 5 minutes if I'm talking about, intellectual property or something. Like, yeah, that's enough of that. Let me, jump over to Bucky and see what Bucky has to say. But,
okay.
But these are the things is that I was very scared, not scared. I was like, I'm going to do all this and there's really no audience because I've never in my life thought about that. I always even with my clients now, we have 80% transportation. I go, how does that happen? I go, I don't know. Because I just like these guys and I talk to them and we connect. I mean, I'm not a guy to plan and figure out who my target is. So that was the other thing is I didn't know if that sort of mindset would work. So that hurdle was a big one for me.
Again, I don't think that is unusual. I think that people get into it. They want to know the ego metric, like who is in their audience, how many are in their audience. And I try to, as best I can, waylay that fear don't worry about people listening to your show in the beginning. Just worry about getting your content producing wheels under you. Just worry about and concerned about having some good guests sit in that guest seat, especially in the beginning. You want to have some friendlies in there. You don't want to try to pilot it with as many VIPs as you can, because you're learning the ropes of podcasting, and at the same time you're going to have this VIP guest sit in the guest seat. It's a recipe for failure when that happens, because you can't push too many things through this. So that you're a year into this now, and you've done an amazing job. Like, how do you learn to let go of the things that you can't control? You can't control how many people listen. You can't even necessarily control what the answers to the questions that your guests are going to share with you. So how do you get in this environment that feels like you're spinning 7 plates at the same time and walk away at the end of the day feeling confident about the content that you have created?
So I think it sort of is allowing people to be who they are on the podcast, and to go to their strengths and to make them feel comfortable. And I think that when we select somebody, whether Val says this is a great someone from the community that wants to talk, or you say, hey, you've got to talk to this person,
right?
As long as you understand it, and I purposely don't prep very long for these things. I'll write some questions out to make more for the guest to feel comfortable, but
right.
The chance of me asking those questions are probably slim to none.
Same. I don't even write them down anymore. I just write the intro, two sentences to make sure I get on path, and then from there on, it's just a conversation that I'm having.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I think that will answer the question for your guests and my guess is the best thing you could do in life, whether it's on a podcast or off, is just have a conversation, and it makes everything so comfortable. And being inquisitive about somebody else, and asking them the questions, that's when they all sort of pour out to you, because people generally want to talk about what they're good at or what they love to do. So
I remember really early on, and I've told this story many times, when my brother was alive, and we were having conversation about the podcast. And this is probably not even 100, maybe 150 episodes into our podcast. And he said, "Hey, I was listening to your guest on the podcast," and he mentioned a name. It was long ago. And I said, "Yeah, that was a great interview." He said, "Can I just give you some advice?" And my brother had been in radio for a really long time, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to hear give me the advice." Would you let your guest talk? So I was asking the question and then not allowing or interrupting the guests as they were answering the question, putting in my own spin on it. Now, it is my show, so I can do whatever I want. But I did take that advice as like, hey, maybe I'm just not listening to the guest enough. And one of the things I noticed on your episodes is that you let the guests talk a lot. I mean, you don't have a lot, except for when you bring up, here's another light bulb moment. And I want you to explain what that means to our audience that hasn't listened to your show. But I'm curious, where did that skill come from? Because I know I didn't teach it to you, because I still have a hard time with, I'm just like, shut up.
I get excited every once in a while,
right?
Especially when I follow your suit on the movie quotes. Except you got a far better presenter of that.
Voiceover guy, Steve O'Brien. Yeah,
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's good.
So we use a lot of movie quotes, and some of my guys that we interview, some of the guests, they do it too. But it was part of that process of learning how to sell, and to interact with people and to learn it, because I was a big chatty person, for a long time. And what happened is what I learned, I should say, is that the more I talked, the less the other person talked, the less I learned about that person, the less I could then talk to them about their situation. So I forced myself to listen, and every single time that I listened and the other person talked, I learned so much that I could ask them more questions, and they could talk more.
Right.
Learn about their business, their family, their friends, what makes them excited, what makes them unhappy. When you learn all these things, then you've made that mental connection, which I talk a lot about on our podcast, that is to make that mental connection first. Half the time, I'm not trying to sell anything. And it was funny the other day, someone said, I go, I don't even try to sell to anybody at all. And they go, Phil, you're very, existence is a sales, and it's not what my intent is. I'm not trying
Right,
to sell,
right.
I'm not like a used car salesman. I'm just
Right.
trying to understand and say, okay, well, here's how I'm going to help you based on what I understand. But if you're always talking like I'm doing now, you can't,
Well, you have to. You're the guest here, so you have to. You don't have to. You don't have to be silent as the guest. Your job is to answer the question. So you're doing really well.
Yeah, see, it's hard because I'm on the other side so much now. So that, I think that was the key component, and that's why I became very good at getting clients, very good with connect, and it works because on our podcast, at least from my own perspective, because I learned so much about so many different things.
When you started the show, again, I kept coming back to, okay, how do we connect this with your business? And you kept saying this is not the important component here for where I'm heading with this podcast. I just want to have some great conversations with some great people. And I'm assuming that has worked to your advantage because you don't have anything to sell, even though you are, you're a business owner, you look for opportunity everywhere. So can you talk about the balance between not having something to sell and looking for opportunity using your podcast as the tool?
Yeah. So that's the beauty, is you create this inspired network of people that are talking about various things. And then you have those people talking to each other, and guests and listeners talking to each other, based on it and the connection. Even when I make connections now, I go, this is a perfect connection. Listen to the podcast so you can understand it. And whatever happens as a result of this, because I've never been, if I'm helping somebody, if I'm giving my time, it's not about the immediate gratification, the give and take, so to speak. It's about truly wanting to help this group. As a result, when our network expands, that's when everybody benefits, including me. It's not
right.
I'm not saying that I'm selfish about it. I'm just saying it automatically happens. And it usually happens in more people being on the podcast and more people, calling me for other things that they may need or I can help them with.
Well, I think about, the 100+ interviews that you've done, 50+ guests that you've had sit in that guest seat. And, I think about then, geez, the 1,600 episodes, the 900, 1,000, 1,200, whatever it is, guests that have sat in my guest seat. It's almost like, hey, why don't I have a guest reunion? I've never done that. It's like having a guest reunion. You've been a guest on the Nice Guys. I could even have a repeat guests on the Nice Guys, and I bet I have over 100 repeat guests that have been sitting in the guest seat, which creates an additional connection. There is so much opportunity that you have, and I think if you lead with serving, then you end up receiving in return, which has been the most valuable asset that I could imagine getting from the podcast.
See that, Break Community? That was the quote of the show. That was fantastic. So
you're going to play this on your podcast. I guess I'm going to give you this, and you can play this on your show as well. Oh, well, that could be the quote. You're right.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No worries.
Doug, turnkey, Nice Guys community.
Man. No need. I get all the attention also, so it's totally fine with me. You keep promoting what you do. I love that.
So here's the rub. I think you should do it because we're having our and you'll be invited, of course. So anybody who's been on as a guest is going to be invited. We're doing it at the Do Wire Studio sometime in August. I know you'll be coming to San Francisco, but we're going to invite all of our guests. We're just getting together now to come back. We're going to have a live presentation. Or a live interview. So I'm very scared with our group. It's called, I think, the Wise Guys Roundtable. Some guys are brighter than others, so to speak.
That's great.
So I didn't make up the name.
That
was Nick Dubach and Steve Palmer, I think. Anyway, so the idea is that we're going to have this, discussion, and then people that are there can jump in during it, and then we're going to promote it to anybody that's been on the podcast can call in and then give their 2 cents, so to speak. So
great idea.
So yeah, we'll have some tequilas, and I've got a lot of restaurant tours locally, as you know. They'll Q Barbecue and Posto and Stadium Club. They'll all bring in food so that we can have a good old party. Do it.
It sounds like it would be a great idea that I've thought of a couple of times, but I have not. Just the catalyst, and then I keep thinking, Stricken, I think the same thing. It's like, oh, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work to put all that together.
It's not, because you've made such beautiful connections with people. If you invite me, I will be there.
Wow. Okay.
I think I think that there are a lot of people that you interview that will be so happy. And just imagine the power of that connection, that you're having all these people that, how many people? I know a handful of people that have been on your podcast. For me to meet, another, 400 or 200 or 100 or
Yep.
even 10,
Yep.
this is something that, it would be glorious. And I bet you they all come.
So you created the show a year ago, Light Bulb Moments. It's all about the energy, and then you discovered as you were doing it that every show you come up with these light bulb moments. In having conversations, great conversations with your guests. So can you explain to our nice guy community the light bulb moment is, what that means? It sounds like people would know, but why don't we make it obvious to them what it means?
Yeah. So there's something in everyone's life, and it's not just one time, but there are these key things in your life that will transform how you operate in life, and it'll cause this pivot to happen. The aha moment, the light bulb moment, whatever you can imagine calling it, it doesn't matter. It's that time period. It could be, a death of a family member. It could be, a promotion at work. It could be, a a comment from somebody that you respect. These are things that sort of trigger you and sort of push you into a different direction that is both positive and negative. And sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. But whatever the case may be, typically as a result of it, whether it's positive or negative, whether it's a pivot in any way that will inspire you to do something bigger and better than you did before. So that's sort of the projection. And you'll see a lot of commonality as it relates to the light bulb moments, but there's always those unique things, and people actually act very vulnerable when they start talking about those things that have affected them. So, and it's kind of an interesting concept.
So light bulb moments, it's the aha moment that you get out of the conversation that could be a lesson learned that you may not even have realized that it was a lesson learned until sometimes you're having that in the middle of that conversation. You're like, that's we've had a couple of those today, and we'll think back on what those are in the show notes. But those aha moments, you discover them sometimes in real time while you're talking to your guests as well.
It's incredible. It's like, holy cow. 'Cause I wrote down a bunch today that you're like, oh man, I'm a media company. I mean, what the hell? That sort of creates all this other dynamic. And, when you talked about habits, and that's another opportunity for me to expand. But absolutely, every episode, there's at least 3 or 4.
Where do you see yourself heading, not just with the podcast, but you're an ambitious guy by design. You're an entrepreneur. You own the firm that you have, Fornaro Law. There's a bunch of different businesses and opportunities and investments and things that you're in. Like, where does your podcast help expand into each one of those tentacles, or is it just another thing that you have in the course of your day? Or I don't even know that you can separate them. I think it all kind of runs together just by doing what you do.
No, it's all consuming. It all works together. They all feed off each other. They all benefit people, outside of myself. Absolutely. So I see it as this podcast finally gave me a national and international stage to sort of talk about the things that I like to talk about things that I talk to my families, friends, and clients and business partners. These things that I talk to them about every day, now I can project to a wider net where people can benefit, hopefully benefit from what our guests are saying on the podcast. And then it'll allow for potential opportunities to meet them and get into different business ventures, and all our business partnerships. They're all jumping on to promote their stuff. So it's kind of fun.
It's amazing that way. I know I look at the podcast as we have two ways that we can look at it. It's another spoke on your wheel, which becomes another list of tasks on your list of a already overburdened task list of things to get done. So that would be the spoke. I kind of look at it as the hub of my entire business. Anything that I do, not even just my business, my life, many of my personal relationships came from my podcast. My girlfriend is in the podcasting space also. So we're connected through podcasting, business opportunities, commercial real estate opportunities that I've bought into through clients of mine. Investment opportunities. I think about my financial planner. He is my podcast client as well. All of these things. Now, if I looked at it and like, oh God, I got to interview this guy that's in real estate investing, I might not have been real excited about it. but I looked at it as, hey, maybe there's an opportunity in here. If I look at everything with through the eyes of this is the core of my business, this is everything rotates through the hub of my podcasting wheel as opposed to a spoke. I feel like there is opportunity in there. As long as you're looking for it, I really truly think that you can find it as podcasting as the tool.
Yeah. Yeah. You let it do what it does, and then keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, and it'll all come back tenfold.
So do you see yourself ever I mean, I don't think you're the kind of guy that retires. I mean, do you retire at some point?
It's so funny you say that, Doug. I last night I was sitting there talking to Anne Marie, my wife, and it's like, yeah, a lot of people are starting to think about it. I never thought about it. I said, there's certain things that, sort of kick me into gear. Like one of my clients just retired, dear friend, Bill. He says, you know what the great thing about retirement, Phil, is? I go, what's that, Bill? He says, every day is like a Saturday. I
Right.
get up, I do whatever the hell I want, and then I go and do something else and take a nap if I want. So you're right about me is that sounds great, but you're right. I think that I will fill my time, because I've been talking to a lot of people that have been retiring, and I ask, it's like my number one question to ask is, what do you do? How do you fill your time? Do you have a problem filling your time? Almost 95% of the people say, no. I got things to do. I do this, I do that. I help with this. They could be, doing side jobs. They could be, going on vacation and this, that. Because I don't like it. I don't like to do I like the little vacations, and I
Right.
don't like to, sort
Right.
of do all this stuff. And I don't like to golf. And so this is kind of the thing is, what will I do? And what do I do in my spare time? I read pitch decks. Anyway, I garden and I go. So I'll fill my time somehow, but it'd probably be something productive. It'll be certainly this, unless my community, our bright community, shuts me off. But
I don't
otherwise,
see that happening.
otherwise, I'll keep doing this and the law. And I do want to grow my firm, and because it's such a wonderful model, and it's funny we had pumped up the fact that we were recession proof, because we've always been good in the recessions. In the deepest, darkest, we always were profitable. But what's interesting now is I'm switching my model to the fact that we're AI proof. So I've built the firm around that. So I'm really excited about the adventure that we're going to have with our OGC model. And it's not to pump the OGC model. I'm just telling you is that there's this level of excitement. Every time I think that I'm getting into a lull, our clients just excite me, and I dive into things that we haven't done before, and how can I practice law like nobody else can. So it's kind of this, you're right. I will never stop. I'll be dead thinking of ideas. Go, please carry this forward.
Right. Well, I'm like you. I am very much an idea guy. I love the big picture things, and I love turnkey. I think we've built something really good over the last 10 years, and it's worked out really well for us. I mean, I came from the live event business as a bar mitzvah MC for 30 plus years before this. And it's not the same level of excitement, which I'm happy about because I do have my weekends back to me. But part of it is very much like you. It's like I'm 60 and I keep thinking, okay, when do I retire? Can I retire? Do I have enough money to, all the things that, and I'm like, who am I kidding? If I don't worry about what are my clients thinking, what are my clients doing, then I'm worried about if I'm retired, like, am I going to be able to afford this, or am I going to be able to do this? And so I'm not even close to ready to retire, but I look for, like, I know we have a meeting coming up in August, and I'm very excited about it. And you may not even realize the agenda in my brain. I'm like, okay, I want to get excited because Phil's excited. I mean, for me, excitement is very contagious. If I walk away from my computer and my business for a couple weeks, I have a very hard time, not because I don't love it. I have a hard time getting my wheels motivated and rolling again. So doing things like what we're about to do, and even if it's just a few hours and having a meal and laughing about shit, I mean, for me, it's like, okay, I just needed that kick in the ass a little bit. So thank you ahead of time. And you don't even realize what we're going into. I don't even realize what we're going into either when we get together.
No, I got my mental list, Doug Sandler.
Okay, that's good.
We're in good shape. It's gonna be. I'm very excited about it. A party, seeing the family, yeah, that's good. But I get to see Doug Sandler. What could be better than that?
Well, I don't. I'm ready to learn. When I have a guy like Jeffrey Gitomer talk about sales and selling skills that sat in the guest seat, of my podcast a bunch of times, I felt like, man, I knew a lot about selling going into this. And I feel like those rah conversations that I'm able to have with a guy like that, and then the inspiring conversations with JLD, because JLD was a guest on my show as well, and all of the other high level guests. And it's like, okay, but these are not like real people. I mean, to me, they're like celebrities. But then I get to have conversations with, like, Steve Fretzen has been a valuable mentor and friend over, professional friend of mine. We haven't done anything socially together, but that's the kind of stuff that I need more of that in my life, because I'm the kind of guy that if I get around the heat, I will stay hot. If I get away from the heat, I start to feel like I get a little cold, and I don't ever want to feel cold. So feel free to always say, hey, you need to get on a plane, and this is a mistake if you don't make it to this meeting, because those are the kind of things that I need every once in a while.
All right. Well, I'm known to be pushy, Doug.
That's okay. I'll take the push.
And quit not including it yourself. I mean, you're a podcast icon here, Doug. You're doing. Hey, listen, you're talking about you're bragging about my 10%. You're like at 0.001%.
Hey, look, people gave up and they started listening to the show. They're like, these fuckers have been around for 1,600 episodes. They're not going anywhere.
They gotta be. But I mean, that's it. I mean, the people you've mentioned, I mean, why do they come on your podcast? Why did the guy from Lovesac, why does he come on my podcast? It's not because of me. It's because of you. And these are this dynamic that, I think as you go and you give yourself more credit, the credit that you deserve, I think that's where you'll even spike even more. So
thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Every once in a while, I need help. I'm a words guy, and my love language is absolutely words of affirmation. You could get me 1,000 gifts, and it's like, I appreciate the gift, but I don't need it. I bought that for myself already. Yeah. You give me an attaboy or a pat on the back or a, hey, you've done good. I mean, that to me is worth the gold that the words are valued to me.
Yeah. So now you got to start doing that. I see that because you light up when we talk about these things. But my key component to you, and this is not a therapy session, but
I'll take it.
Remember that's you, and give yourself that affirmation discussion every time, because you deserve. We worked hard at this, and this whole thing. You don't understand how hard it is to find somebody that will take you through the process of the podcast and the pain and suffering, the beginning. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'm telling you this, Doug, if I had to teach, when I have to teach people stuff that is like at a baseline, when it's like way below my skill set, I want to, jump off the nearest building. But you're very calm. You have a team that listens to you. But this is the thing. Just forget the nice guys in business. That's a success. I think the bigger success is turnkey. I really think that you can help so many people and grow that at such a high level, because I read all the podcast books. There's not that many, and you guys do it better than all of them.
Wow, that's great. And I appreciate you saying that. Every once in a while when you have that call or that email from a client that said, hey, look, I know we've been with you for a couple of years, but we're going to bring this in-house or that, you get like, oh God, I just, it's, one in, one out, one in. It's called churn. I don't like churn. I hate it. We've launched 350 podcasts, and yet we have, and I love the fact that we have, 50, 60 clients that are with us on a regular basis. But it's like, well, what happened? My thought is, what happened to the other 200 that we, 300 that we have launched? But that's not my problem. I can just bring people to the well, and hopefully they stay in the well.
Yeah, and that's a statistic. So it's like anything else. If you have if you bat 300 and you're a baseball player, it's great. And you kept on telling me how many people got. Jack brought it up. On the 21st episode, it was like a certain amount of people start, and you don't get to 21, right?
It's 12. It's 12. It's 12. It's like pod fade. There's a word for it. It's like, holy crap. Are you kidding me? You've put all this energy into launching a podcast, and then 12 episodes in, it's not working. You still have your podcast diapers on. What's going on? Why are you thinking that, right?
You still got to go. You got to take the pain.
You're about to hit the next milestone, and you may not realize that. And this was not at all part of the agenda. But as soon as I said, hey, you're about a year into it, that's the second time when people stop podcasting too. They're a year in, and they're like, okay, let me do a reflection on what, after you get past year one and you're well into year two, most of the time that is a client that will stay with us for, 5, 6, 7 years so far. And that's about the longest clients that we have.
Yeah.
But it's getting to that year, and then it's like reinvigorating, re-inspiring yourself to get to year 2. And once that happens, you're generally a very, very solid podcaster because you're seeing the numbers, you're seeing the guests, you get the inflow of guests coming in the door. You're not working so hard for the interview prep. You're not working so hard with the follow-up calls because you know who fits into your culture. All of the things that happens between year 1 and year 2, and it's a very exciting time.
Interesting. I didn't even know I had something to look forward to there. Now I do. And I think that this will be an easy transition into year 1 because, like I talked about our team before, they are so energized. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they put together the website, they put together the Facebook group. You know, they're constantly grabbing interviews. You know, it's kind of and getting me organized. It's so awesome, and that's why I think this will have some longevity. Hopefully, we'll hit your 7 years there, sir.
Nice. Well, I hope to have you as the longest client. You'll be one of the only clients I've met face to face. So
is that right?
Yeah, very rare that I meet clients face to face. Very rare.
Oh my God.
I need to, but that's on me. That's not on my, like, I'd love to meet Steve Fretzen. I don't know why I haven't said, hey, look, I'm coming to Chicago. Can you take a few moments and go out to dinner with me or lunch or something like that? I'm just so fucking lazy. That's what it is.
You're not. Get your girlfriend, come to Chicago. We'll show you a good time. So let me tell you Fretzen's story. So,
yeah.
So Fretzen's he has all the people on like how to grow a successful legal practice. I have no idea why Steve Fretzen wants to deal with attorneys, but he does. So he goes ahead and gets this. It's 101. And I have 101 attorneys that he's interviewed on his podcast that are rainmakers.
Yeah.
So he compiled all the episodes, reduced like everything to 2-page or 3 pages of content based on AI, compiled it in a book, and then put some chapter headings on it and released it. You know, I got the book the other day. My picture, from like
you're 19. In it, and you're in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the book, and I go, what the hell? And I'm reading some of the stuff. I go, this is pretty damn good. So he just recently did that.
So think about that as your next potential move, or even there's an opportunity in there. I mean, we have all the worker bees in our pipeline already. We could easily do that for our clients, and they wouldn't have to do anything. They wouldn't even have to compile anything. We already have all their episodes.
Yeah, well, put it on the agenda.
Sounds like that's a potential idea. All right, so if somebody's interested in listening to your show, where do they go? How do they find it? What's the best resource for them to go to?
Yeah, so just lbmpodcast.com. The lbmpodcast.com. Well, you'll fix that, Doug. I know you will.
Yeah, right. I'll edit that out. You'll hear me say I will edit that. You did something on one of your episodes. I forget what happened. I think you were interviewing somebody, and your guest said, "Could you edit this out?" And you go, "Yeah, we'll edit that out." and I think that you might have, or Valerie said, "Don't edit any." It was just something like, "Don't edit," because you're having real conversations with real people. I think it was you. It was either you or I can't remember who that was, but it was interesting.
Us. At least one of it was us. We do that all the time. We want to be authentic. One of the guys told me to do that. Well, who said to always be authentic? He was a pretty good guy too. I'll think of his name shortly. But anyway, yeah. So I'm all okay with that. So lbmpodcast.com. Hit me on LinkedIn, and that you can see now on our Facebook group. And, we'll talk to you if you want to chat. We're a pretty open book here. So call me anytime.
All right, let's take a right turn for podcasting, some personal stuff for just a second, so people in our community know a little bit more about who you are, what you're doing out there. So you live in, not Chicago, but you live in a suburb of Chicago, right?
Yep. LaGrange, Illinois.
Right. All right. And married, kids?
Yep. So a lovely wife, Anne Marie, and 3 older kids, Emma, Jack, and Joey.
Oh, Emma! I thought that was a joke in there somewhere.
No. You met Jack.
And what's the age range? Age range for your kids?
27, 25, 22.
All right, so that means you're a little bit younger than me. Mine are 29 and 32. So none of them married yet?
No, I just had a engagement announcement the other day. So it's
Very cool.
Good news. Good news.
Very cool. And you're off to San Francisco. That trip will be concluded. So you'll either see a discontinue of the Light Bulb Moments episodes after my August meeting with Phil, or you'll see a cavalcade of new episodes come down the pike because we did something really special in there. So very cool to have you on the show, Phil. Anything I should be asking you that I'm not asking you? Anything you want to say to our community?
No, but just that there's a guarantee that I'll still be a client after the meeting.
That's right. Well, I could attest to that, because if you didn't leave me after that first 2 weeks of dealing with me last July, then we've got a client for a really long time. So
yeah.
Phil,
well, I think it's the reverse, Doug. I think it was the reverse, Doug. You go, this, I want to send them off with the other 200 that have left.
I understand. I don't want to send anybody off. I like, normally we find people that fit our culture pretty well, and we want to hold on to them. Sometimes life has other designs for us. So
yeah, that wasn't a fair statement. I was just trying to make light of those other 200 that didn't pay attention. They should have been paying more attention.
Hey, Phil, I so appreciate you being on the show. Thanks for being a client. Thanks for being a friend, and always thanks for your pleasant personality and disposition. Thanks for being on the show.
It's been a ball. Thank you for all you do for us, Doug.
Hey, for those in our community, if you need more information or want more information about Phil, just check the link in the show notes. We'll put a direct access to Phil's executive assistant, Valerie. She actually is the one that runs everything behind.
100%.
Yeah, same. That's how we feel about Ashley on our team.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For Doug, Strickland, the Nice Guys on Business podcast, I'm Steve O'Brien. Yo, bartender, Jobo needs a refill.